Hey guys, thank you and welcome to Coach Henry's show. I have two beautiful friends and I can't wait to explore their stories and share so many common ground. Before that, thank you to my sponsors, Brownstone Capital and also Vibe Concierge. So with that being said, I always like everyone to do their own little intro on who you are a little bit, no business stuff, most of you, our relationship a little bit, and then we kind of get right into it. So with that being said, guys, enjoy these two beautiful guests, and we're going to go from there. Some of you are listening to this, some of you are seeing this, so keep that in mind. We'll start with you. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Aisha Branch, native Minnesotan to
Uh-oh.
now Californian.
Shout, Minnesota.
Yeah, I live here with my husband and my 5-year-old son.
Okay.
Yeah, we're based in Thousand Oaks. I run my own business. But,
What kind of business is that?
marketing and advertising company.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Yep.
Little plug, you know?
No business right now.
No business right now. Yeah, I got the memo.
Yeah, but yeah, we reside here at Thousand Oaks and we love it.
Awesome. And for those on that, we used to be neighbors.
Yes, we were.
And the beautiful thing about that story is that, I guess it's beautiful in hindsight now, is that our friendship with the family has only grown, even though we were literally, 50 feet from each other? Or however, I don't know dimensions.
50 steps.
50 steps, thank you. 50 feet. It's like, wait. But thank you for being here on the show.
Yeah.
And who are you?
My name is Dana Walker.
Oh.
I'm a mom to 3 kids, elementary age kids, and I've been married 14 years, been together 19 years. And then I just keep myself very busy. I had my own company. I started a company. I seem to always stay busy, even though my official title is stay-at-home mom.
Yes, but we're going to talk
Doesn't do
about
it justice.
It does not do it justice, and I'm going to see if there's a way to add a couple pictures of your house, because that's you did that entire project. So you people don't want that title you just named yourself, because if they go, wait, if that's a stay-home mom, what am I doing? Because that's a whole other level. Welcome. Everybody, her nickname is Dynamite. She's been in the boxing world with me. That's how we met. We'll get back to that in a minute. So hence, in the boxing world, you usually get a nickname from me. So hers is Dynamite. And it's not for her always continuous smile. There's something there that's behind that. But with that, we're going to get right into it, guys. One of the things about this show that I love to do is I want anyone listening or watching or both to really connect. Because we live now in a world where what's real, right? Mm-hmm. What's real? What do we hear? And I want people to come across this going, there's something about this show, about the guests, about the people, this community that is real. And I did struggle with this, or I did. So we're going to kind of talk. I only have a couple questions, and we're going to just have a natural conversation. And the first one, but we're going to get right into it. And if you ever box with me, which you will soon, you'll know that I will throw you in the water. There's lifeguards around, but that's how we're going to get into it. So that being said.
More sharks than lifeguards.
Oh, there it is. And there's the Dynamite we know. There she is. So the first question is a very powerful question. How do you speak over yourself? So what I mean by that, let's unpack that, because somebody in the team told me, Henry, break it down. What do you mean by that? Which I love. I'm not being sarcastic. It keeps me in check. It's this, is that so many people, both of your moms, both of you are currently running companies, and all the things you're doing with subs, and you have oversight. In that oversight, if you're not speaking well over yourself, it's going to trickle down. So what does that look like for you? Either in work in progress, and you can admit and be real, like, that's a tough one for me. And then that leads to, what can we do to help each other? And also, or what are some of the victories? But I believe this question to be a very powerful question, because how we speak over ourselves starts everything. Because a lot of people here are always wanting to please everybody. And we know what that is. That means you get leftovers. That means when you go to bed at night, you feel depleted, you feel tired, and at the end of the day, it's going to be resentful. But the goal here, and everything I'm about as a coach, is to be people blessing. So you are filling yourself up first to then give your absolute best. So I'm going to start with you, because you've known me a little longer, and give each of you a little time to take a moment to, it is a strong question. So that being said, Dynamite, I'm comfortable enough with you because, again, you've been around me. What does that first mean to you, and how do you take that?
Man, I mean, first and foremost, I think being a mom, it's really hard to prioritize yourself. I think that was ultimately how I found KO and Coach Henry in the first place. We moved out to Agora from the Valley. I had 2 young kids, and I wasn't used to not working. I wasn't used to that being my main full-time priority. And so I kind of lost myself a little bit, and I went on a hunt for that sense of community or the things that I was missing, or really some place where I could not be a wife and not be a mom, and I could just go be there for myself. So in the true fashion of the type A that I am, I did a lot of research. I came in with a spreadsheet. I walked in the door. Henry said, come in my office. We sat down, and I had my spreadsheet. Well, I see that there's this, and this is the price, and this is the terms. So I guess I try to control the situation, I guess, in that, like, making sure that I, like, stay relevant and I stay true to myself. But once I kind of make my mind to prioritize myself, I go at it. That being said, as being a mom, it is really hard. You lose it. It is a constant reminder to keep having myself do that, choosing the things that make me happy, choosing the things that don't put me second. It is I like to say it's like a verb, right? It's like, it's not something that you get to and you accomplish and you're done. It's a constant process. And I kind of do that in different hats. So over the last 10 years, we've done 4 home remodels. Then I put on my construction hat. And then I have to keep reminding myself, like, I can do this. I can run a team of 60. I can, I'm not just a mom. So I do that. And then I, of course, put on the mom hat, and I'm room mom for my kindergarten teacher, and I'm on the homeowners board for my neighborhood. And I keep putting on the different hats. And I think as far as, like, speaking to myself, I just have to remind myself that, like, I'm not just a mom and I'm not just a wife. And when I'm doing the house, I'm not just a project manager. So I think just continuing to remind myself that I can do a whole bunch of things and I don't have to just be that one thing.
Honestly, Dynamite, I think that's awesome. Truly. I think that's a beautiful answer. And I say that because, look, everybody, just so you all know, I don't tell the guest what we're talking about, primarily because it is organic. I want it to be real. And because being a mom, look, I'm a mama's boy. I have 5 sisters. So I know, and all the sisters except for one have kids. So I understand, and being a dad myself, that it sounds selfish at first, like, take care of me first. But I always use the airplane model of the thing coming out, right? The oxygen, your instinct needs to put it over yourself, because if you're not good, then you're no good to your kids. So I brought that and started with this question of how we speak over ourselves, because if we don't learn how powerful words are over ourselves, then you, in this case, are raising kids that will cue off that. So that's a reality check for all the moms out there and the dads. Is that, so if I'm always saying this, I'm so busy, I'm so tired, I'm so busy, who do you think's listening to you? Who do you think that's how they're going to be growing up? They're going to be like, oh, well, mom seems happy and that's what she always says. But what if kids are able to say, gosh, mom always, I know there's a lot, I see there's a lot going on, but she seems, it's not that you have to be perfect. It's not. But you said it great. It's about the verb, right? It's a constant, but it starts with us. It is everything about coaching, and everything I've seen and everything in my faith is about the best us gives the best. It is actually the most unselfish thing you can do, in my opinion. Because if you have a good car and it's gas, clean, working great, it's going to bless a lot of people. But if you have a nice car and, hey, I'm out of gas, tires are low, it can only go 5 miles an hour, how good are you going to be for anyone? So I'm going to put that. So we're going to thank you for that answer. All right. What do we got here?
Hot seat.
Oh, God. That is a very big question for me.
It is.
Because I'm in this season of building a business right now while raising a young kid, while managing a household. So it's been a lot overwhelming for me sometimes.
Yeah.
And with that, you can ask my husband, like, I have a problem with probably speaking negative words over myself. And he's the best sounding board for me. But one thing that I tell myself and I speak out is that even if I feel fear, I'm going to do it anyway.
Amen.
That's kind
That's awesome.
of my kind of mission the last few years is,
Yeah.
yeah, you can feel afraid, Aisha, but you're going to do it anyway. You're not going
Yeah.
to let it stop you. And the other thing is, you know, as I feel imposter syndrome, or I feel not good enough, or I see the disadvantages I have being a minority-based woman
Yeah.
in a very still male dominant industry, I still have to tell myself I'm good enough. I know what I'm talking about. I'm
Yeah.
worthy, and I just have to, hey, I might have to spend more time proving myself, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because it's going to make me better for it. And with that, like my faith has been a huge, huge, thing for me right now in this season, because it's like when I can't speak good things about myself, I have somewhere to go that will speak good things about me and who I am.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've been very aware of right now is that I have big dreams. I have big things I want to accomplish, but my hand only stretches out this far. And so I know that like I can only do so much, and there's faith that will cover the rest.
Yeah.
And so speaking to myself, like, you can only do what you can and do the best that you can.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do. And just, God will do the rest. And so I've told myself that a lot lately. And I think that with me being a mom, it then manifests into my child. Like, hey, you can only try your best. And I always tell him, practice makes progress, and progress makes mastery.
There you go. I love that. Yeah.
I don't say perfection, because I don't want him to ever think he has to be perfect, because I feel like me growing up, that was a huge thing, and now I suffer from perfectionism. And so I just want him to know, like, you can become a master at things.
Yeah.
It takes practice, it takes determination, but you'll make progress, and eventually you'll meet that goal.
I love that. And I love what you said, because look, as parents, we all, regardless of our growing up, there's good and there's probably not so good. And a lot of times we overcorrect, right? You're driving, you get a little tired, you overcorrect, right? God forbid, when we're in that little sleep and you're like, but in life, we have to be conscious. We're responsible for little people. For me, I'm responsible for anyone that I have oversight with. So how I feed into myself, it's not perfection. But look at KO, just going back to that, and thank you for what you shared, and it's real, and that's what this is about, is that I am fortunate to be all over the place, but I hear the same thing just said differently. And I just want to remind everybody that we all are on the same boat. But if we just get off past that judgment, past that persona, past these lies, let's get to the good stuff, I always say. And the good stuff is like, man, I'm having a hard day today. Can you pray for me? Or can you give me a rah-rah? Whatever that is to that person. And then we get past that. And you both have heard me say, be aware of the bad, just don't stay there. That old, I don't know who said it, but let's give credit to Confucius because it sounds good. It wasn't it wasn't Confucius, but it was, no one ever died falling into a puddle of 1-inch water, only if you stayed face down in that. So if you think about the simplicity of it, that is our goal today. How can we make this more practical? That anyone listening or watching can go, you know what? I am a first-time mom. I am 5 kids deep. It doesn't matter. We all need to speak good to ourselves. It doesn't mean going, Henry, yeah, you're the best. I mean, yeah, there's that extreme, but I'm talking the basics. Imposter syndrome, feeling worthy. And that all comes back. We all deal with that. I'm human. I have my moments. I have my man, am I ready? Is that a good voice I'm listening to? I mean, you know this because your hubby's been helping me. Like a year ago, I was about to do it. And then it was 5. I mean, I've been here many times, and this was the time, right?
I think another point is just not always black and white. So
Yes.
you can't, it's, if I'm being all in on momhood, I'm not really being all in on what's best for me, and vice versa. Or if I'm, prioritizing one thing, it's really hard to do both. And so I think, going back to the word of the verb, but I think it's really hard to kind of just commit to one thing and expect the other thing not to take a hit, right? So, which always goes back to my word of balance. And I think I've been saying that to Coach. There's been a lot of hours hitting a bag, but although I would say it's like a mental and a physical workout, but there's also a lot of hours of talking. Most of those back hitting was not the action. It was actually like the effect from the cause, right? So really to focus down on the cause part of it. And although my body was there actually probably hitting a bag, mentally we've worked through a lot of things, family, business, but I think also just really understanding that like there's no way to have all or nothing, and there's no way to only focus on this and not let this go by the wayside. And then the next day it's this side, and then you're not focusing on this side, and that's kind of just life. And that's been like a really hard acceptance. But also I think when you can get to the point that you can accept that, then you're able to kind of be better in all of your different hats.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And amen to that. And I think, look at both of you, if you think about it, the simplicity of what we both shared, all of us, is that I always say there's a good gray. There is a good gray. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. This is the progression of life. I always say, I'm not here to be perfect. I'm here to be progressively growing. Okay. And that's been the biggest shift, because the previous guests that I had, one of the things we talked about was how do you start your day? And then I added, well, let me tell you what I've applied in my life lately is how I end my day, right? Because how you end your day, to me, I never realized it was such a significant way of how I start my day. So I started a couple of years back, ending the year like 31 days, 30 days, 29 days. And it wasn't about ending strong. Some people would challenge me like, slow down there, Tiger. What this is being aware of something to be bettering for next year. Mm-hmm. So I don't just wake up January 1st or 2nd and go, okay, I am ready. It's about habits.
You're prepping.
Mm-hmm. The better we prepare, the less we repair. Mm-hmm. You can take that one. Ew. Okay, you like that? The better we prepare.
Some really good ones right now today. Write that down. Next book.
The less that we repair, but it's true. I kept thinking, the most problems that I had, okay, let's forget the problems themselves, but why did I have those problems? Okay. So, all right. So how can I be better prepared for those problems? So I share that based on that question that I posed to us is speaking better. So we'll move on from that, but thank you for your shares on that, because that's all that is, guys, is that it's just that every time we don't realize how powerful those words are. And I had a client I was working the other day and talking to, and he just went through something. Look at him. He lost his job. He's a man of the house, and he needed a coach. He needed some love, and I'm grateful that I was able to be there for him. And the first thing after listening, I said, look, it's not about being positive Polly. It is, though, about the direction of what we're going to go once we acknowledge the hardship we're in. And then we're either going to be doing this, or we're going to go here. But guess what? And then before you know it, you're out of it and going, oh, it's like a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. But we need to remember that how we speak of ourselves. It's not like, Henry, you could do it today. But if I came in here with a victim mentality, the show wouldn't be happening. I wouldn't be meeting great people. We wouldn't be doing things. But I'm coming in like, look, I don't care if it's one person that hears it and goes, I need to hear that word today, then my job's done. And that is what, in your case, it's one little one, 3 little ones, and that's not even being the wife in the balance. So thank you both for that rawness of truth. So on that, I wrote some good ones down. This is a good one that goes to the first question is, what is one of the things that helps you fill up? What is one of the ways that helps you fill up to be a better person? And how hard has that been? And what do you do to maintain it? Ooh, again, let's go. All right, who wants to go first?
All right, I'll go first. Again, a constant flux. Different times of my life, it's been different things. So I always kind of joke around that, like, I can't stay seated for very long. So I'll take on a project. 9 months ago, I took on a independent contractor project, which I knew had an end date, which is really helpful for me as a mom because I can plan around it.
And it is planning, but the little control that we started this with, a little bit.
And so I'll take that on and I say, oh, I'm so excited. And this fills my bucket. I'm doing something out the house and it's, my skill set and it drives me. But inevitably my home life suffers from it. We're not in a position that my husband can then pick up the slack. So I'm really just committing to 2 jobs during that time. And I do it and I know that it's filling up my bucket. And I know that this part is kind of emptying out the bucket. And then towards the end of the project, I'm like, okay, I got to go back. And then it goes back this way. And then I start, I need something for me. I need to fill back up my bucket.
Yeah.
And then again, a work in progress. So, we've moved about a year ago out to Old Agora, which is very equestrian friendly. And so I decided that we were going to take horseback riding lessons as a family. And we fell in love with horses. And so now we have 2 horses. And so for right now, that fills up my bucket. That's my time away from the kids. It's my time outside. It's my time, physically using my body. It's something that's a challenge to me that was new. And it's been different things at different times. I had never boxed before when I went into Henry's. That was at that time, that was like a saving grace, both physically and mentally. We finish a house. We think that we built our dream house. And then I'm like, okay, ready for the next project. We sold the house, we buy another house, we do it again. So I think that like, for me, that topic is like forever changing. Yeah. Sometimes I'm really missing, my older kids feel old. My younger kid feels like a baby. I'm room parent. And that's at that moment, that fills up my bucket because I'm getting to enjoy the little stages while dealing with the tweens at the same time. So even that is in flux and in a balance. So at the moment for me, it's time with the horses. Gearing up for the inside of the house is done, gearing up for the outside. And those are all things that are really my own projects. So hiking outdoors, but I get back to the physical all the time. Cause for me, it's such a, endorphin, like physical challenge thing. I personally like the challenge. I feel more in control when I can like have something that's new and exciting. So I tend to kind of, not that I ever master anything, but I tend to kind of like get there, I've mastered, I feel really good about it, and then I find the next challenge. So those are the things that really fill me. If I'm stagnant for a really long time, I find that my bucket just gets depleted. So I'm on to the next one.
I think on that note, and thank you for sharing that, Dynamite. I think on that note, it's also you being aware of the bucket being. I love that you're aware of that you're aware that it depletes and you fill up and all that. And it's ever progressing, like you said. It's a matter of what you're putting into that bucket, right? Today, at one point, it was only boxing, let's say, and then it's horses, and it's sometimes a mixture. But ultimately, as long as we're aware, it's like even the nicest car in the world, it's going to run out of gas. You fill it up. So I think the key for our journey is finding things that are continually filling us. Yeah. As long as we're getting filled more than depleted on a normal, there are days or weeks where it's like, please, we need help. But I think that's the important part, right? It's like I said, it's not being perfect. It's progressively growing. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love when I was sharing how I end my day. I'm really ending my day more than ever just being thankful for whatever it is I was able to accomplish, even the challenges, because now I know what not to do or what I can do better. But I wouldn't have done those things. Just using this podcast, it took many attempts to, for lack of a better word, fail. But then I'd look back at those and go, okay, my message has always been the same. Even 15 years ago, I was doing, well, we didn't have this, but my version, but I'm like, it's the vehicle in which. But I also believe this season I'm ready. I'm ready to give out more. Because now I'm a G-Poppy and I'm an uncle. Mm-hmm. And business-wise, I'm careful what I put, how I do it. So I'm being very conscious of that fill up. So I'll share those in a moment. Ish, what about for you? What does that mean to you? And you prefaced it by saying, look, it's you're in a new season, mm-hmm. right? You're launching a brand new company, which that alone is scary. Mm-hmm. So how does your fill up look like?
Yeah, it's very different than like a year ago.
Yeah.
I think like a year ago or 2 years ago, I would have said, working out, making sure I'm spending time with my family, like that would have been what fills me up, which still does.
Right.
But right now, I'm in a season where I am managing people. I'm managing multiple projects at once. And so I've become very aware that I need my mind sharp at all times. And I've had to play with what makes me that way, because like we just talked about, like kind of to your point with the endorphins, like I see when my mind is starting to like crumble and I start letting anxiousness like take over and imposter syndrome. And I have worked at finding the things that combat that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that have been filling me up in that way is getting up really early in the morning when it's still dark. And just spending time in, prayer and journaling has become a huge thing for me. Like Streamline of Consciousness, there's a book called The Artist's Way, and it's a phenomenal book for anyone who is looking for a way to unleash kind of pent up thoughts, pent up just roadblocks, and let go and become let creative have its way. It's a great starting point, and that helped me a lot. And now I just kind of get all my initial thoughts out, and I can't even explain how tremendously helpful that's been for me. Just because as moms, we have so many thoughts going through our minds all the time from the moment we wake up. And so it helps me to just release it and start the day fresh and with almost not an empty mind, but a fresh mind. And then one thing that's really important to me right now is I work a ton. I wish I could say I don't. I wish I could say I'm at the part of the business where I work 20 hours a week. And I'm not.
You're on the opposite spectrum right now.
Yeah, right now it's a season. So spending time with my son and ensuring that he is getting the rich childhood I desire for him to have. So I'm not the best at always time blocking yet. I'm trying and I'm getting better at it. But something I do not compromise with is time blocking time with my son after he gets done with school. From 4:30 to 7:30, I'm pretty much, hey, whatever you want to do, you want to go outside, you want to go on a bike ride, you want to go on a hike, let's go do that, so that you will never look back and say your mom wasn't present with you.
That's awesome.
I pray that he looks back and says, my mom and dad worked really hard, but they also invested a lot into me.
100%.
Intentionality is huge. Me and my husband talk about it all the time, is intention,
I love
intention,
that.
intention.
Absolutely.
And so that seeing my son happy and that we're creating these memories together is enough to fill me up, and then ensuring that I just keep sharp. I know that might sound weird as a way to fill me up, but I just love knowing I'm at tip top. And with my mind, because I always say the battlefield of the mind, it's so crucial right now for me. So to figure out and master how to stay sharp in the mind has been a creative challenge for me.
But I think that's look at you both said something, and this is the beauty. You each have your journeys, and you each have your fill-up cups. But the beautiful thing about this is that you both are great moms. So I'm really blessed to be able to say that. But it's also moments. There's no little kid, or if I asked you about your childhood, there might be some significant milestones that a parent might have done, good or bad, but you're gonna remember moments. That's the key. So I'm with you. They're not gonna remember that you worked, to them, 10 hours, or they don't know the concept of that. They know those 2 or 3 hours, or tucking them in the bed. And let's also remember, this goes back to us. How we speak of ourselves is also how we see ourselves. Are we parenting out of guilt? Are we parenting out of fear? See, that again is what we speak over ourselves. It's the imposter. I don't deserve this. And then we ultimately sabotage ourselves. It's going to happen anyway, so I might as well just get it done now. So that's why I want to break that and all of us be conscious of how we speak over ourselves. Look, even if it, for lack of a better word, fails, okay, we now know what not to do. And there's moments where, they might have to do a 10-hour day, or there's moments where you have to travel. It doesn't define you. And I want to encourage you both in that. Okay, it doesn't define you. No little kid out there with a good parent goes, my mom my mom and I, we had some battles, not her and I, but in my childhood with my stepdad and life. But I didn't cling on to all these other things. I clung on to the things of my mom doing what she had to do to protect me and to help provide a home. Just want to encourage that. That's why we cannot function from fear, and we need to fill up our cups because it fills us up, and then you are then able to be that. So thank you for those shares.
And there's also a lot of fill-ups that happen that are for all of us, right? So
Absolutely.
I say horses, although I go do horses during the day when my kids are at school. It's also been an amazing opportunity to spend time with the kids. So surprisingly, my oldest, my son, actually got into it the most. And so that's been something that we can bond together and spend time. And I think if you can find that web that fills up multiple buckets, even better.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying is, but absolutely, but that's what I'm saying. It comes from our foundation.
Yes.
That's really where I'm going with it. It comes from us. It's look, if you're on a budget, all you can afford is this type of food. It's how we go about that the kids will feed off it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if we happen to be able to go and celebrate and go to a Mastro's and Mastro shout out.
Now you need to look at the camera for that.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Mastros.
Mastros.
promo.
I love Mastros. I like steak. But whether it's that, one of the things I had, Zach and Cassie, you both know, and my kids, and one of the things that I asked them, and they go, Dad, all we remembered is no matter how bad things were, you always made it seem like we were going to be good. So that's because we've had some hard moments. And that's why I just want to encourage us all that it's what we speak. It's like, let's fall, let's shake it off, let's get up and let's go and not stay in that position that long. So thank you for that. It's just good stuff here.
Good stuff.
So the third part of what I wanted to kind of share and hear from both of you is really now, because you're both at different seasons of life. So how do you see life? Let's just pick a number because it's irrelevant to our age. It's more...
Except for I just turned 40 over the summer, so
and
I'm holding on to that.
You hold on. Fantastic 40.
Relative your age, but like, it was a moment.
Hey, this is a big milestone for me this year. So...
They say 40 is the new 25. So.
Yeah. Hey.
Counting on it.
Hey, I proved it. I definitely was not your normal 40-year-old when I was 40 back in the good old days.
Good old days.
The good old days. But I wouldn't. I'm just joking. So the third part of that is that's really important to me is what are we doing with the platform that we do have now? Okay, because remember, I am big about not being in regret. Of course, there's certain things that we'd rather not have our kids go through or we went through. That's natural, but we can't stay there. So the relevant question is, with what you have today, not where you're going tomorrow, not what your dreams and aspirations are tomorrow, today, when you go home, when you leave here, how is your family first and anyone that knows you seeing you? So this was what I wanted to say. This was the question, but I was asked to reframe it. The real question that came out.
You're like, I'm asking the real question.
Don't forget to get my book.
Again.
No, I have that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's yours.
Get my book.
This one, the question was, you can see, was, are you an asset or liability when you leave someone's presence?
Ooh.
I think it depends on the person.
Let's hold my friends.
Okay, so I'll start it off and then let's go with it. So here's how I looked at it. I had written one of my first books, but I felt that I was an asset a lot of the times. I was also a liability a lot of the times. And it's not that we can be one to all. That's not the question. Remember, I don't want to people please. I want to people bless. So I take ownership. What can I do? Now, how they take it, that is on them. But if you leave my presence, I don't want to be like, oh, Henry's the best just because I put out your favorite food or I put out your favorite music. And you're like, no, that's good. But it's because there was something about what I gave you that you feel like, ah. So my question to you, you cannot control the recipients and you're not here to please everyone. But you as a person, how we speak over ourselves, how we see things, work in progress for all of us. I want to feel that when you leave my presence, I added a little something better to your life. So what does that look like to you, starting with your family, your husbands, because that should be, it should be husband, family, and then the rest. So what does that look like to you 10 years ago? And what does that look like to you now?
I can go. 10 years ago, I don't know. I was very young 10 years ago. But I would say, okay, so one thing, I mean, we've all been married here or are married. Like, marriage can be very difficult.
I've heard rumors of that.
Like, trying to do life with a whole different person with different dreams and aspirations and routines and habits can, it takes time to, like...
I think the brochure lied sometimes.
Hey, newsflash, young people. It's not all rainbows and butterflies.
It's not?
It's a rocky road. No.
Stay tuned for the next episode.
But I promise it's worth it.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
But... yeah, so I think, like, as my husband's been an entrepreneur since I've known him, and I was the breadwinner for a long time, and obviously, like, we kind of went head to head, like, me being a mom, a wife, working myself, there was some times where the balance was not there. And one thing I had to walk through, obviously, like, I love my husband, he's great, he's amazing, he's inspiring, but one thing that as a woman is that I had to walk through and learn is kind of to your point, like how do I want my husband to feel in my presence? How do I want, like, even amidst my frustrations, which I know won't last forever. I think that's one pointer, is like, know that whatever season you're in, it's going to end. Everything has an end date. But like, how do I want him to remember this season with me? And good. One thing that I work on a lot now is that, you know, like I'm very faith oriented. And so one thing that I felt God impress upon me is that to focus on building each other up. Like, even when you're frustrated, even when people are disappointing you, like this doesn't go just, it goes beyond marriage, but like when people are disappointing you or they're not living up to your expectations, your duty is to build each other up. And so as my husband was building his business, I started taking that approach. I'm just building you up. Like, you know, regardless of the frustrations I feel, the tensions we might have, I'm going to build you up. And I've seen the fruit beyond fruit with that. And, you know, he just wrote me a birthday card the other day that I think prove that it's doing good things.
I want to address that just as a man. Look, no matter how macho or you can view me in boxing coach and type A, C, D, D, E, F, all of them, we're all going to be little boys at the end of the day. We really are. And I'll never forget, the biggest thing for me has always been just a little rah-rah. And who better than your wife? Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean that. Like, what you said is very powerful. And faith-based is saying your husband should be first and vice versa, because then a happy husband is a happy wife and all that good. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, again, is when you lift your husband up.
I think the saying is a happy wife is a happy wife. No, a happy wife is a happy life.
Yeah, so
but spin it however.
Yes, but yeah, you like that, Ray? Spin it how I like. That's dynamite. Now you know the nickname, but it is true what you're saying, because I feel what you felt. Look, you might have had to rise up in those moments. Mm-hmm. I'm knowing he's done the same for you, but in that, and what you're sharing is like, he needs me now, and in turn, he'll be there for you, and vice versa.
Yeah, and
so I think that's beautiful. That's what I took from it. You had to kind of like, you know what, he's in that season.
Yeah, and respect where people are at.
Yeah.
Like, just because he's your husband, like, obviously, as when you're married, you have expectations of your spouse.
Of course.
But like realizing like they're still their own individual, and like we went to counseling once, and this was like premarital counseling, and you know, like, sometimes you go in complaining, and the guy, our spiritual mentor, said to me, "You knew who he was when you chose to say yes. Like, you knew."
Ooh, that's deep.
That hurt me so bad, because I was so angry when he said it.
You want him to validate you at first.
Yes,
like, you went in there going, "This is him."
Exactly. And I'll never forget that moment. But it was pivotal for me. It was such a paradigm shift, because I was like, ouch. But it stuck with me. Like, I know who I married. I have an accountability to that, and start realizing, like, you have an accountability with all your relationships. You have an accountability with your kids. You have accountability with your friends, as a daughter, whatever. And so I started taking that approach, like, okay, I have an accountability to this relationship. I have accountability for choosing to be where I am within these relationships. Like, I have a responsibility to that. And like, starting to take ownership of that really changed my perspective on things. And it's done a lot of great things for my marriage. And the other thing that Wade my husband used to say to me is that he wants me to be his peace. Like, his home is his peace, as a man who goes out into the world and is an entrepreneur. Like, and that is something, when I took that to heart, like, I'm your peace, like, you need peace, and I'm here to deliver that for you. I started like taking that to all my relationships. I'm not perfect, but I hope that most people, when they are around me and leave my presence, can feel that they got built up, and they feel peace leaving the situation with me.
And that answers the question, is, are you wanting to be, or how are you going to be, an asset or liability? And that's beautiful. See, it starts with awareness. Mm-hmm. So thank you for sharing that, because for me, remember, it's not our job to please everyone. This question is who we are, right? If we want to go see a particular movie, and you go rom-com, and you go action, and I go sci-fi, again, you know what you're getting, you know, but it's a sacrifice to the other. The key there is the willingness, and what I love about you said is being intentional, but also backed up with actions. So thank you for that. Dynamite, what do you think?
Well, I think awareness is the key because I'll use an example, but I used to work for a marketing agency and I went on tour for a major brand and we would go into each of their stores across the country. And I'm very analytical and I'm very goal driven. And I went in there like at all costs and it was like the most successful on paper and numbers were, through the roof. And at the end of the day, like one of the salespeople like wrote in something like, she just came in and that's all like she cared about. All she cared about was the numbers. And it didn't really matter that I left them feeling happy or good. And I thought it was a success because I'm measuring it a certain way. And so that I always kept that with me. But also as I realized that other people measure, success or their feelings or the relationship or how you left much differently sometimes than I do. And so I've adjusted over time. My husband and I met when I was 21. We have gone, we're totally different people 10 times over in the course of our relationship. So we are like forever changing that. So, sometimes I'm the badass that push. Well, most of the time I'm the badass that pushes.
Don't forget the part of the boss women. Let's go.
Most of the time. But it's been a real struggle for me to learn to like be softer and like.
I'm not going to say it out loud, or maybe I should.
That's very hard for me.
We don't like that word.
Yeah, I know. But I say it in a beautiful way, but that's like, whoa, episode
My husband
14.
and I have a very good balance. Personally, I feel like when people know us in our personal relationship, they'll say, oh, she definitely wears the pants. But the truth is really, he does. Yeah. He just lets me believe that I do. No, but I've had to like learn to be different, sometimes for different people and not in changing who I am, because at the end of the day, I am who I am at the core, but to understand that like different people need something or how I come across affects different personalities different. And it's most evident in my kids. I have 3 kids. They're all very different. I have this spectrum where I have to like, I can be totally type A and badass because she's that way. And, I have another child that's over here that if I go in like that, we're in a, we're head to head. So, I've really had to adjust in like, I need to put on my listening hat and I need to put on my supportive hat, which is my struggle.
But isn't it funny, God's sense of humor? Because think about it, in your own house,
right?
Okay, you don't have to even go outside. In your own house, you're like, oh my gosh, I love you so much, but I want to kill you.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And then I have one that's in the middle. So, I use parenting as an example, but like I parent to each of them very different. And I take that lesson out into the world. And again, goes back to the different hats, but I'm a very different person depending on what situation I'm in. I think general badassery covers it. But we've had contractors that work for us and they'll say to my husband, like, she's really hardcore, but in a nice way. And so I always really try to like bring both of those in. I try not to go like, leave a situation or a relationship or a project or a job or a meeting or anything where it's like, you're only this way. I think that, again, back to balance, I keep going back to the balance, but I think that that's like really important. So like learn that and also introspective in myself to understand like which are those characteristics that come easy to me, the badass one, and which are the ones that are really a struggle for me. It's really hard for me just to be there and listening because I am like a go, take it on, action. Something wrong, you do something about it. But that's not always what the people around me need. And so, it's been hard for me to recognize where I need to adjust and what are those aspects that I need to like.
Yeah,
I need to learn. I think introspection is really hard in general, and I think that that's really important in all of your relationships because if you can't sit and understand how you're affecting or what your words say or what your actions say or what that person's, opinion could be or how they're taking it, I don't take things a certain way, So my husband's used to that. He's used to that by now, but I also then laugh because like people will like say, oh, he's so easygoing, my husband Jerry. He's so easygoing, but he's really not. It's just that we've learned this balance. He's easygoing on the things that are super important, and I'm hardcore on, and then I'm super easygoing on the things that he's really hardcore about. And so we've learned to be successful with 19 years, some counseling, had tears on Henry's shoulder. Yeah. So we've learned to do that. And I try to take that lesson to each person. I go into each situation and be like, what's the best success for this relationship, for this outcome, for both of us, not just for me. So,
guys, seriously, love Love that. And going back, you started the word by saying aware. And that's, to me, the essence of an asset and liability. And again, it's not to people please.
Right.
You need to be who you are. Mm-hmm. But here's the ticker for me. I think one of the things that I've been gifted with that I try to make better is I want my message to be delivered and received. Because if I just want to deliver it, then I don't really care if you receive it or not. Hey guys, the weather's hot outside. And I deliver the message. Hey guys, I'm not sure if you looked outside yet. It's going to be really hot, so you might want to dress accordingly. Same message, delivered differently. Mm-hmm. So I think year 3 kids is a perfect example of God's sense of humor with you, having to like, oh my gosh, yay, and okay, which way? But I think if you look at life, it's again, what's our intention? Mm-hmm. You know, and I bring those questions up because at the end of the day, relationships are the most fundamental of life things to me. Mm-hmm. It is what are we going to do with them? And yes, some are business related, some are just friendship related, but at the end of the day, we all want to be heard, we want to be felt, we want to be understood. And sometimes we put those expectations on others, then they don't respond the way we want them to, and then here go the emotions. So I think if we want to invest and I want to be an asset to you, this is who I am. And the relationship needs to be, like you said, intentional. Say, hey, by the way, this kind of hurt my feelings. And then you talk, and that's how you get through things, not just assume. I had a moment with Munchkin yesterday. And Munchkin, for everybody, is...
Not a Munchkin.
Yes. Her name is Marissa, my other daughter. And but she was venting about a common subject. Now, I travel, so I don't get a lot of one-on-one moments with her. And I said to her, are you done? She goes, yeah. I said, okay, do you want me just to listen, to validate you, or do you want a solution to be better? And she posed the question. And she goes, I want to be better. I said, so how many people did you vent about this subject to today? 4, including me? 5. Okay. I said, okay, so really what you want is to be heard and validated, not necessarily a solution. She just really I said, look, how many times do you hear me just complain about the same thing all the time? She goes, pretty much never. I said, I know who to speak to when that actually could do something, or sometimes I do need that voice. I'm human. I'm here, but I do want to ultimately be a better blessing. So if I just came to you, hey, good to haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Oh my gosh, my day was, and I just unroll. In my opinion, in hindsight, if we were being recorded, I'm a liability. I just drained you. Now, hey, Dana, I'm having a really hard day today. Can I just talk to you? Changes everything. It's awareness and intention. And that's why I say in our companies, look, vent up, vent out. Vent up, vent out. You never hear me going on to a work site. Hey man, everybody come over here. I had the worst day of my life. It's all y'all I pay you, you're gonna suffer, you're gonna listen to me. No. And I believe because my ultimate intention is to bless people. So if I really take that to heart, then I'm gonna be careful with what I speak over myself and what I speak to others. See, that is my whole mission. I'm not here to be perfect. I struggle every day with different things, different challenges, and conversations with God. But at the end of the day, I have a choice. Am I going to be a victim? Am I going to just stay there too long and drown in 1-inch water? Or am I going to make that one of my greatest testimonies? Well, we know the answer so far because I'm sitting here. But when I go much, I go, look at, go to the source. Have you gone to the source? No. Go to the source. So I share that because you guys have an honor and a responsibility with your kids, your husband, your family, and both of you are go-getters, hence why you're both here. You're both very type A in that ass in a beautiful way. Like, let's go. But I do believe there's a great gray, and that's balance. And it starts with us. So whatever that, if that's horseback riding, if that's getting up and doing the journaling and beautiful, I have found new ways to help me be my best. Because when I'm in the field, like I was in the field this last week every day. So that means talking to people all day. and not normal talk. You know me, that's Coach Henry talk, which is very different. It's people talking and advice and this. I am tired at the end of the day. But I'm aware of that now. So I'm very careful so that the next time, let's say I was meeting you for dinner, I don't want to show up to dinner going, it's not about not being real. So remember, we're real. It's also being considerate to who's on the other side.
Yeah, and understanding like what is that going to do? Like
Exactly.
what outcome are like what seed is that sowing? You
Yes.
know, like is it worth it?
Yeah. And I think that's where the wisdom comes in, which is one of the last questions I have. I have to look at it. It is wisdom and to what and where we say. And it's not about being delicate or babying or enabling. No. I just want to say it's good fashion consideration. It's just the bottom line. It's just considerate of the person. And if I say, Dana, how are you? Let me just stop for a moment and actually listen.
Well, it's that awareness. And it's the same question with Munchkin because, sometimes she might have, being aware of what she needs. Sometimes she might actually need, today I just want to vent.
Absolutely.
Or today I just want to do that. And then you adjust, your, how you're helping.
And you know where I
her
learned that a
follow
lot?
but-
With my relationship with Zach, my son. Because he works with me. I'm a dad. We'd box. I mean, there was a lot of relationships in there. And a lot of times, I'll tell you where it started. He would vent to me about a certain thing. And it was really hard for me. Really hard. Because to me, it wasn't venting, it was complaining. So that triggers me. I'm just being honest. So then I had to really I need to take a moment and really kind of digest this. And I finally spoke to him. I go, look, I'm in a different season of life. So I don't see that as a big deal. I know you do, and I respect that, but also respect that you should vent out. Even though I am up for you in the chain of company, but I really don't want to hear it. I don't. And he was like, ooh.
It's hard in a relationship when you have a lot of hats because sometimes I'll even say to Jared, like, do I have my wife hat on or do I have my business hat or like, how do you want me to answer that? Because, your son coming to you with a problem, well, you have your dad hat on, you get a hug, you okay, buddy? You have your boss hat on. I don't want to hear your shit.
Right.
You have your this hat. So, I go back to the roles and the hats, but I say that all the time. And I say it to my kids all the time too. I'll say like, well, right now I have my mom hat on or like right now it's like fun hat. I don't have to worry about rules. I don't, let's put manners a little bit aside, and that's important too, to put on the different hats so that.
Absolutely. But I think that it was a great breakthrough for us.
Yeah.
Because look, I want to be there. I love that they want to talk, but also made him considerate that I'm just not a dumping ground.
Yeah. Right.
That I'm also at a different season of my life. And that complaining was hard for me because I'm trying hard to stay up on certain other parts of my life.
Yeah.
But it comes down to awareness and communication. And that's why I just wanted this part of our show together to really not just the boss woman part, which you both are. It's, again, how we are ending this part of it is, what are we going to do with it? And I believe that's just, we all wear a lot of hats. That's life. But I also feel that if we spend less time trying to assume, less time trying to figure it out, more time empowering, encouraging, and just being considerate, honestly, it starts at home. And you both, I could honestly say this, you both have hubbies and families in the same household, meaning, so what a blessing. What are you going to do with it? And that's not the answer now because we have a couple minutes left. But that's powerful. And to me, my shoulder was hurt for a little while. So I have very much a huge appreciation to be able to like hit again. So the wisdom for us, final thoughts here in a moment is, I don't want us to have to lose something to truly appreciate it. That to me is wisdom. So in our takeaway, like for each of you to share maybe kind of some wise words that have meant something to you or mean something to you, that someone listening that's trying to find their good grade, their balance, what are your words of wisdom? Let's start with you, Dynamite.
Oh, I'm really on the spot. No, I think really just like being authentic to yourself. I mean, I think that anything that you're trying to do, if you're trying to just be for that one person or for that one situation, I think that you don't end up being helpful. I think that that's very short-lived. I think it gets burnt out. So the words of wisdom are just really to be authentic to yourself, to make sure that you're doing the things that you want to do and filling up your bucket. You're also being aware how those things affect other people around you. and just, just making sure that you're doing, I always say, take the high road. I tell my kids all the time, you take the high road. It doesn't really matter what's going on around you. You take whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever you feel good about, regardless of everything else that's kind of going around you. So
in our household, what we said is rise above.
Yeah.
So similar. So I love that. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dynamite. Ish, what do you think?
I would say, like for the moms, for maybe you're a mom, maybe you're an entrepreneur. I don't know what season of life you're in, but just remember that if you're going through hard times, it is a season. When you're going through uphill battles, they're temporary. And just for me, it's just don't lose faith. Like if you're doing your best and you're staying aware and taking the accountability, life is going to turn out pretty great.
Yeah.
I think you're ahead of the rest if you're aware and accountable. But yeah, I would just say keep the faith. And also, I wanted to say something else, but I lost my train of thought.
No worries. We'll come back if it gets, but thank you both. Time flies, and that's why I said that hopefully you've enjoyed, and it really is just real conversation. My closing thoughts with this is that we all suffer from a lot of the same things in life, maybe in general or that season. But the more we can share, the more we can be alert, accountable, respectable, the better we're going to be, right? I don't need to do a boxing class tomorrow. It brings me joy. I love seeing
you better, because I'm planning on boxing tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. We're doing it tomorrow. But I need to do what I've been given a gift to do. And it's selfish of me not to share my gifts with the world. Each of you have a gift. It is not meant to be held. It's meant to be shared. So.
Yeah, I do remember.
Okay, go.
Okay, so one other thing I wanted to share that I think it has been helpful for me as a wife, as an entrepreneur, is a lot of times we're often thinking future. Like to be a long-term thinker is what my dad always used to say, is like such an asset. Like you should always be thinking long-term. But when you do that, you start losing sight of the present. And one thing that has helped me a ton when trying to live in both is thinking about the seeds you're sowing each and every day, whether it's like with your relationships, with your work. Think about the seeds that you're sowing, because those are going to blossom in the future. So you have to think about what do you want in the future, but what you're sowing or like sowing today.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah,
so, good.
so like I don't know who that's for, but hopefully it helps someone.
Absolutely. It helps me because look at our actions have repercussions. So it's a more like straight point. But he's right, is that, and you tweeted just beautifully, because what we sow, we reap. So
Right.
With that, ladies, thank you so much. We're going to have information for everybody to connect. And thank you for everyone that follows our show. Looking forward to we'll have, by the way, we're going to be putting together down the road there's going to be like a panel, some boss women up in this place. So we'll always have a little timer to go, right? Because then we're all going to be talking like it. So thank you both. Thank you for all my guests. Again, thank you for our sponsors, Brownstone Capital and Vibe Concierge. And stay tuned to the next episode. Have a great day.